Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hey guys, Marco here from Aviator Life CS. Welcome back to my channel. And today we have part 2 of air systems. We will be talking about the air conditioning system. A big thank you again to Dream Aero for letting me go to the sim and get these videos. Also, thank you to Captain Pat Boone for allowing me to use some of his awesome app, Boeing 737 MRG. Let's keep reviewing the systems. I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so we will talk today about the air conditioning system, and this is part 2 of air systems. Before we start, remember this presentation is for reference only, and it does not supersede or take the place of any written documents. Before we start the presentation, I want you to watch this video we took in Dream Aero's Boeing 737 simulator about the air conditioning system, and there we talk about what we have in the air conditioning panel and in the bleed air panel. So let's watch the video and then we will continue with the presentation.
Okay, now let's talk about the air conditioning controls and indicators. And as you can see here is the panel for the air conditioning, and it's located in the forward overhead panel. And we'll start with the air temperature indicator right there. And this indicator indicates the temperature at location selected with air temperature source selector. Now we'll talk about this air temperature source selector, and it has different positions, right? We see the supply duct. It selects appropriate zone supply duct temperature. Pass cap selects forward or aft passenger cabin temperature. We have the pack selects left or right pack temperatures. But we'll continue with the trim air switch, and the trim air switch has 2 positions, as we can see there. In the on position, the trim air pressure regulating and shut off valve is signaled open. In the off position, the trim air pressure regulating and shut off valve is signaled closed. We will continue in this panel, and we'll talk about the zone temperature lights later on the abnormals, and then we'll talk about the zone temperature controls. And as you can see there are 3 zones: flight deck, which is the con cap, the forward passenger cabin, forward cap, and aft passenger cabin, aft cap. Desired zone temperature is set by adjusting the individual temperature selectors. And it's good to know that the range of the temperature is approximately between 18 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. The packs produce an air temperature that satisfies the zone which requires the most cooling. Okay, now we'll continue on the same on the bleed air panel here, where we see the left and right recirculation fans. The recirculation fans switches, they have 2 positions. So we can see off, where the fan is signaled off, and then we have the auto position. The auto position in flight, the left recirculation fan operates if both packs are operating, unless either pack switch is in high. The right recirculation fan operates if both packs are operating unless both pack switches are in high. Now on the ground, the left recirculation fan operates unless both pack switches are in high, and the right recirculation fan operates even if both pack switches are in high. Okay, recirculation fans collect air from the forward cargo bay and send it to the mix manifold. The recirculation fans, they decrease the bleed air load on the engines and save fuel. Okay, now let's talk about the pack switches. As you can see in the panel here, we have the left pack and the right pack, and they have three different positions. In off, the pack is signaled off. In auto, with both packs operating, each pack regulates to low flow. With one pack operating pack regulates to high flow in flight with flaps up. When operating one pack from APU, both engine bleed air switches off, regulates to high flow. In the high position, the pack regulates to high flow, provides maximum flow rate on ground with APU bleed air switch on. Now, if we talk about the packs, they decrease the temperature of the warm air from the bleed air system with a sequence of heat exchangers and air cycle machine. The heat exchanger uses external airflow to decrease the temperature of the warm bleed air. The ram air doors control the flow of external air to the heat exchangers. The pack temperature control valve controls the quantity of warm air that is mixed with the cool downstream of the air cycle machine. With the pack temperature control valve, the pack supplies air at the temperature of the zone with the lowest set temperature. If the main controller or valve fails, the opposite pack controller uses a standby pack temperature controller. And before the pack, some of the bleed air is sent to the trim air system to control the temperature of the cabin zones. Okay, now let's talk about the trip reset switch here. The trip reset switch, if we push, resets the bleed trip off pack or sun temp lights. Related engine bleed air valve opens, or related pack valve opens, or related trim air modulating valve opens. Lights remain illuminated until reset.
Okay, so now we will talk a little bit more about the air conditioning system. The air conditioning system provides temperature controlled air by processing bleed air from the engines, APU, or a ground air source in air conditioning packs. Conditioned air from the left pack, upstream of the mix manifold, flows directly to the flight deck. Excess air from the left pack, air from the right pack, and air from the recirculation system is combined in the mix manifold. The mixed air is then distributed through the left and right sidewall risers to the passenger cabin. So we can see on this diagram, this is the left pack, and you can see the flow of air. It goes to the flight deck, and the excess air goes to the mix manifold. The right pack air goes to the mix manifold, and then here we can see that the recirculation fans, they take air to the mix manifold as well. And then this mixed air is distributed through the left and right sidewall risers to the passenger cabin, as we can see here. Okay, let's talk about air conditioning pack. The flow of bleed air from the main bleed air duct through each air conditioning pack is controlled by the respective pack valve, which we can see here. This is the pack valve, and you can see this is the right bleed air. Normally, the left pack uses bleed air from engine number 1, and the right pack uses bleed air from engine number 2. A single pack is in high flow is capable of maintaining pressurization and acceptable temperatures throughout the airplane up to the maximum certified ceiling. The APU is capable of supplying bleed air for 2 packs on the ground or 1 pack in flight. So pay attention to this because that's usually an exam question. Most external air carts are capable of supplying adequate bleed air for 2-pack operation. Do not operate more than 1 pack from one engine. That's something important to remember as well. Okay, let's talk about the pack operation. Let's review this quickly here, so for you to have an idea of how this works. So here we have the left engine, and this is what each color means on this diagram. We have hot bleed air coming from the left engine, going to the pack, and it goes to the pack through the pack flow control shut-off valve. This valve automatically regulates the flow into the air conditioning pack. Now when the pack switch is off, or we have an overheat condition on the pack, this valve closes and no air goes into the pack. Once the bleed air enters the pack, it is divided into 2 flows. We can see them here: the cooling cycle flow and the cooling cycle bypass. Only the cooling cycle flow goes through the cooling process. It enters the primary heat exchanger, which we can see here, where it is cooled down and sent to air cycle machine compressor. We can see the flow here. This compressor compresses the partially cooled air, which gains heat and continues to the secondary heat exchanger. Here we can see it going to the secondary heat exchanger. Here this air is cooled down again, and this air from this secondary heat exchanger, as we can see here, enters the air cycle machine turbine. This turbine drives the ACM compressor. This cold air mixes with the cooling cycle bypass here to regulate the output temperature. And that's how the pack operates. Okay, let's talk about the ram air system. And the ram air system provides cooling air for the heat exchangers on the ground or during slow flight. And please pay attention to this because this is an exam question. On the ground or during a slow flight with the flaps not fully retracted, the ram air inlet doors move to the full open position for maximum cooling. In normal cruise, the doors modulate between open and closed. The ram door full open light illuminates whenever a ram door is fully open. And there are deflector doors, and they are installed forward of the ram air inlet doors. And you can see that door here, to prevent sludge ingestion prior to liftoff or after touchdown. Deflector doors extend when activated electrically by the air-ground safety sensor. Okay, let's talk about the pack temperature control. And we have electronic controllers, and you can see them here. This is the left electronic controller, right electronic controller. So on the left side, we have the left primary pack control, the left ram air control, the right standby pack control. And besides this, we can read here that the left electronic controller controls the aft cabin zone and provides backup control for the flight deck. Now, if we talk about the right one, we have the right primary pack control, right ram air control, left standby pack control, and the right controller controls the forward cabin zone and provides primary control for the flight deck. So that's what we have on those controllers. And they command the pack temperature control valve, which you can see here, toward open or closed to satisfy pack discharge requirements. If a primary pack control fails, the affected pack is controlled by the standby pack control in the opposite controller. A primary or standby pack control failure causes the pack, this like the master caution and air conditioning system annunciator lights to illuminate during recall. And pay attention because that's usually an exam question too. So if we have a primary or standby pack control failure, it causes the pack master caution and air conditioning system annunciator lights to illuminate during recall. If both the primary and the standby pack controls fail for the same pack, the pack master caution and air conditioning system annunciator lights illuminate. The pack will continue to operate without control unless excessive temperatures cause the pack to trip off. Now let's talk about the air conditioning distribution. Conditioned air is collected in the mixed manifold, as you can see here. The temperature of the air is directly related to the setting of the temperature selectors. You remember we saw them in the video where they are. Left pack supplies flight deck, as you can see here, and excess air goes into the mixed manifold. Right pack normally supplies only mixed manifold. The passenger cabin air supply distribution system consists of the mixed manifold, sidewall risers, and an overhead distribution duct. Okay, now we can talk about the recirculation fans a little bit more. And we talked about this in the video, but I thought it was a good idea for you to see it here on this very simple table where it shows when they shut down. So the left recirculation fan shuts down if on the ground both packs in high, in flight either pack in high. For the right recirculation fan, it shuts down if on the ground it doesn't shut down. In flight, it shuts down if both packs in high. Let's talk now about the equipment cooling. These switches are in the forward overhead panel, and the equipment cooling system keeps the temperature of the cockpit instruments and the electronic equipment in the E&E bay at less than the operating limits. The system has a normal supply fan, we can see it here, the switch, and a normal exhaust fan. Also, we have an alternate supply fan and an alternate exhaust fan. All these fans are powered by 115 volts AC. The supply fan collects cool air from the passenger cabin and supplies it to the cockpit displays and electronic equipment in the E&E bay. The exhaust fan collects warm air from the cockpit displays, the circuit breaker panels, and the electronic equipment in the E&E bay. There are low airflow detectors in both the supply duct and the exhaust duct. If the selected fan does not operate and the airflow stops, the related off light illuminates. We can see the off lights for both here. When the off light illuminates, you select the related alternate fan. The off light extinguishes after the air starts to flow again. The alternate fan supplies the same quantity of airflow as the normal fan, and that's important to know. Now we will talk about abnormals for the air conditioning system, and we'll start with the zone temp light. This light illuminates when the temperature in the supply ducts to the cockpit or passenger cabins is more than limits. When the zone temp light illuminates, the related trim air modulating valve closes. And you can see the trim air modulating valves here in this diagram. One is for the flight deck, one is for the forward cabin, and one for the aft cabin. We need to decrease the temperature in the related trim air supply duct. And we have to select a colder temperature with the related temperature selector. So in this case, we have the zone temp for the aft cabin. So with this knob, we need to move it to the left side in order to decrease the temperature. To let the trim air modulating valve operate as usual and to extinguish the zone temp light, we need to push the trip reset switch on the air conditioning bleed air controls panels, which you can see right here. Now, with the air temperature selector, which is this one here, we have to select the aft cabin to see aft duct temperature. So we check the duct temperature here. If this temperature in the duct increases quickly, then we need to select the trim air switch here to the off position. When the trim air switch is off, the trim air valve closes, which is here. We are closing this valve. The packs operate independently. The left pack supplies air at the temperature selected by the flight deck temperature control selector. And the right pack supplies air at the average temperature of the forward and aft passenger cabin temperature selectors. The zone temp light also illuminates if there are failures in the pack controllers. If the primary and secondary flight deck controller do not operate, the flight deck zone temperature light illuminates and the packs operate independently. If the flight deck temperature controller, the forward passenger cabin controller, or the aft temperature controllers fail, then the related zone temp light illuminates when recall is selected. If that happens, the packs also operate independently. Okay, now we will talk about the pack light. If the temperature in the pack is too high, or if the pack output temperature is high, then the pack light illuminates and the related pack valve closes. We have the pack light here on, and this valve closes. To decrease the load on the pack, we need to select all the temperature selectors to a warmer temperature. So we need to move these switches to the right side to increase the temperature. To let the pack operate normally, push the trip reset switch on the air conditioning bleed air controls panel. So we need to push this trip reset switch here. The pack light will also illuminate if both the primary and secondary controller for the related pack do not operate. In this case, all the control of the pack is lost and the system will not reset. If the primary or the standby controller for the related pack do not operate, the pack light illuminates when recall is pressed. Control of the pack changes to the standby controller if the primary controller does not operate. Okay guys, that's the end of the video for today. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, please do it now and hit the bell so you will know once I upload a new video. Remember, I'm uploading videos every week. So next week we will be talking about part 3 of air systems, and we will be talking about pressurization system. And today I want to thank also Captain Jorge. Captain Jorge is an experienced 737 instructor, and he has his own channel which is called Boeing 737 Pro, which looks like something like this.
Cabin altitude. Controllable or uncontrollable. The intention of this short video is just to highlight how to properly identify if the cabin is controllable or uncontrollable, following a rapid depressurization.
Do you like it? I think his videos are great to complement this system review we are doing. So my plan is to leave a link in the description below about any abnormal or malfunction related to the system we review. So you can review the system and then you can go to his videos and you can check what we do when an abnormal situation happens or a malfunction happens related to the system we just reviewed. I believe that it's going to work pretty well for you, and it's working pretty well for me too. I'm using his videos to check any abnormal situation. So let's do that from now on. I think it's going to help a lot. If you guys think these videos are useful for somebody else, please share them. That's going to help me a lot to grow this project. I hope to see you next week when we talk about the pressurization system, and until then guys, please take care and see you soon.